Today on an all-new Real Horse Rescues, we'll explore the healing power of horses with Nanci Beyerl, founder and executive director of Peaceful Acres in Pattersonville, New York. And we'll meet real rescued horses who are healing hearts and saving lives. I'm Susan Kayne. Stay with us. Real Horse Rescues will be back in a moment.
My horses saved my life from grief and loss in 2002, and I moved here on a 12-acre piece of land with my 4 horses at the time. And what I found, I had grief, loss, panic, anxiety, all of these things that were detrimental to my emotional health and to my physical health, my social health, And in the barn, I started to feel more stable.
Real Horse Rescues is made possible through the support of certified journeyman farrier Andrew Ellsbury and the Unbridled Thoroughbred Foundation. Nanci, thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to join us. We've heard so many fabulous things about the rest, restoration, and rejuvenation that people experience at Peaceful Acres. Tell us a little bit about your healing programs with horses.
Well, first of all, we are so glad that you're here.
Whoops.
And I guess the babies are too. We're really excited about what we do here. And years and years ago, somebody had said, rescues rescue us. And I think any of us that have met a rescued horse feel that. We know that. We experience it. And so what's happened here at Peaceful Acres over the past 7 years, actually more than that, but really over about the past seven years, is a lot of horses have come to us for various different reasons. Homelessness, some have been placed here because their owners have died or are sick with cancer. Some have been placed here, because of, kill pens, cruelty situations, some not so great things. But what we've learned together as a team is as we restore them, we get that much stronger, right? And then the caregivers who are here, we don't call them volunteers really so much, they're the caregivers. And what they get out of restoring these horses is just, life-changing, altering, and they're driven to get here more and more. So we just really have taken that same philosophy, and now we've just opened up, the stable gates, so to speak, to our community more, to offer this program, offer the horses, so people get to know who these little rescued babies are, who our draft horses are, who our elderly horses are.
Well, this isn't something you just jump into. What happened in your life's journey that this is the expression of your experience?
Wow. Do we have a couple hours? So my horses saved my life from grief and loss in 2002. And I moved here on a 12-acre piece of land with my 4 horses at the time. And what I found, I had grief, loss, panic, anxiety, all of these things that were detrimental to my emotional health and to my physical health, my social health, And in the barn, I started to feel more stable. And so what I started to just say is, stability is found in this stable place. And I started talking to some people about what is animal-assisted, therapies, or what happens with animals. And I learned about the Equine Assisted Growth and Learning Association, and had horses, so I went out and worked with them for several times around the country, and did some other work with Epona and learned more about the energy work and what happens energetically between people and horses, and why is it that we just feel calmer and feel better. And so through that process of a few years, I really felt better. It's really being able to just be present. Being able to calm ourselves down, be in a peaceful place that we can start to maybe accept ourselves, accept life as it is, and some of the changes that maybe we want to make. I think in helping to restore the horses and through their wellness, you know, it starts to mirror within ourselves too. And we find that we have improved capacity for a whole lot of different things. And I went back and got my master's in social work, and then decided to take that as a macro position and start, you know, the organization where rescued horses and people could come together in this nature-based environment, which is now 156 acres.
Well, in addition to these beauties in the pen with us, you have some amazing draft horses and donkeys that also work with people that come to the farm. Will you show us those horses
Absolutely,
and donkeys, lest I get in trouble?
Perfect.
Let's
thanks.
go.
Since 2002, we started doing wellness and rejuvenation retreats, 1- and 2-day retreats for women who are surpassing a cancer diagnosis. And we were funded by Susan G. Komen for the first 4 years. And this year, we've done 4 retreats. We've got our 5th one coming up on October 3rd. And we serve 15 women per retreat, and we do yoga and meditation and nature walks, and of course horse hug time, you know, that we spend some time with horses, usually with the giraffes or also with our mini donkeys. It's been wonderful. I work with amazing facilitators that really just help in the restoration and the peace for women. And the really cool part is 3 of the women who are also facilitators are cancer survivors.
Carol McArdle discovered Peaceful Acres in 2006. She began as a volunteer and is now the treasurer of the board of directors.
I have adopted a horse here, and I started with the breast cancer retreats as a volunteer participant to help the ladies, help serve lunch, clean up, and whatever. And then in 2014, myself was diagnosed with stage 2 triple negative, very aggressive form of breast cancer. So now I am an actual participant in the retreats. So I've seen, and I do see every time we do a retreat, the connections between the ladies and the horses, and it just constantly amazes me. And I will say we have the most amazing volunteers on the face of this planet. They are engaging, they're compassionate, they're friendly. It's like a little group of family people, and that's where we are. And I hope for us in the future that our retreats continue. Breast cancer, not any cancer, or just retreats for people to come, actually a destination for retreats going forward.
Well, it seems like you're well on your way. But
I certainly hope so.
I have to ask, how did your volunteerism start?
You know, it's funny, I was coming, it's back in a time when Nanci actually did riding lessons, and I used to go to a dude ranch out in Arizona, so every year I would want to brush up my skills on riding, and so I met Nanci at Tractor Supply, and I came to take lessons, and there were a group of ladies coming that were volunteering, so one Saturday I just said, hey, you guys mind if I hang out and, you know, help out? And the rest is history.
Nanci, can you share with us some of the experiences that you've observed that women have had in the program?
You know, there's been so many really positive things that I've seen happen. But one of the things that I love is how quickly the group becomes cohesive. So they bond very quickly, they're supportive of each other, you know, they're all really interested in making these positive shifts in their lives. But they also share a common story, and the common story being cancer. And the things that come along with that, you know, fear, and then wanting to do things to improve their quality of life. Their nutrition is certainly one that they talk a lot about. Exercise, finding different ways that they can meditate and have peace, and maybe almost not take something so seriously. That's the one thing I guess I've really found, that with each group that comes in, they don't take things as seriously as maybe we do before we've been diagnosed with something that could, you know, steal our lives or cause us harm. So that's they're wonderful. They're just such a great group of people. And now for me, it's great because I get to know them also here as volunteers, because some of them have just so fallen in love with the animals that they want to come back.
Do you find that certain horses gravitate to certain women and vice versa?
Oh boy, these guys are all rescues, so I think they just all like crave that attention. And of course, we work with our draft horses, and when we started pulling the draft horses into the rejuvenation retreats, it was a little bit by accident. We needed to use the covered space that the drafts were in. It's a big indoor arena, and it's just a really great space, but it was too hot to be outside, so we needed some shade. And the drafts have been doing so much with our field trip programs and just meeting people, and they're so wonderful. They're kind of introverted in a way, so they're not real spirited, so they're kind and gentle.
Well, let's go meet these draft horses.
Awesome, that sounds great.
Nanci, tell me a little bit about the Horse Hugs program. Is that for children specifically or for adults also?
It started off specifically for school-age kids, especially kids that are, in the cities and don't get a chance to really come out into the country at all or get involved with nature and certainly meet horses or donkeys. We also do the same program or similar program for seniors, and I think that's also the case for seniors. They don't get a chance to get out in nature and have fun spots that they can find peace. And for the seniors, a lot of them grew up on farms, and they're used to big wide open spaces, and so it brings back a lot of great memory recall.
Sounds like a great bridge to wellness.
Wonderful bridge to wellness, yeah. And I think for the kids, the wellness piece is more about helping them to learn about compassion for the horses and for the donkeys, because when they learn a little bit about their stories and what it takes to take care of them, it's almost a care, respect, and responsibility model, right? That what does it take to restore these guys, and they learn about that. They see the feed room, they see the hay. Sometimes the kids are here doing a project, and so what is wellness? Wellness is making sure that we're creating an environment that is healthy for these animals, but in the meantime we're also creating an environment that's healthy for people. And if you can help to teach kids at an early age compassion, and that not everything is about an iPhone or a computer or sitting on a couch, that getting out really feels good, and that they're needed. That's the other thing, is if young people feel like they have value and they're needed, don't they make better choices? And they're needed here. We don't have a lot of young volunteers, but with doing the field trip program, with the Horse Hugs program, the kids in the schools get to come and they can incorporate that into their lesson program. And a lot of people have never heard of a kill pen. And the kids or the adults that come here as part of our Horse Hug program start to tell that really, really sad story, of, as you and I know, 150,000 horses or more a year, American horses, shipped over our borders to be slaughtered for human consumption. And, when they meet the draft horses, who you're going to meet in just a couple minutes, they tell the story of Dixie. They tell the story of Lorraine. And that's powerful. So there they are. They're waiting for us.
Oh my goodness, how beautiful.
Aren't they wonderful?
All but one of these guys came out of the New Jersey kill pen through the Camelot Horse Weekly kind of crusade
Yes.
that they have done there to save hundreds and hundreds of lives. So this area here is called the sanctuary,
This is beautiful.
and then there's an area over this way that's called the High Point. The whole area is called the High Point, but we've got various different pastures that I've been cutting down and keeping it so they have tree forts.
What do you
They
do
love
in
the
the winter time? with the
Everybody comes
horses?
down.
Do they?
Yeah. Yeah, so we have 3 indoor arenas. I'm trying to figure out how I can get a 4th. We'll go through this gate right here, I
Okay,
think.
I've got to relinquish this. I'm watching you, Roger. Eyes in the back of my head.
Look at your beautiful faces. Whatever had happened, all the other draft horses starved to death.
In the group that she was with? What's her name, Allie?
Her name is Allie.
Hi, sweetheart.
Good girl.
Hi, honey.
That's a great accomplishment.
Hi,
Yes.
sweetie.
Yes. The retreats have actually been really good for Allie because the women are there and she starts to like come in and she's watching the other horses. You know, especially this one here is our primary horse hug girl. You're gonna go see Carol?
Maybe she'll come over and say hello.
Are you gonna come say hi?
The draft horses are so huge. Do you find that women are intimidated?
You know, sometimes they are. But we also, you know, before we go right in, either in the pasture or in the indoor arena, you know, with them, we do a couple of little exercises on, I've got one, it's called Hello. And so the women get to approach the draft horses. And when the horse says hello to the participant, then the participant just stops. So it's not about I'm going to walk up and touch you or you're going to come up and touch me. It's just about that recognizing when we come into each other's space. So that sets it up as to a little bit of a comfort zone of how close I'm going to come to you and how close you're going to come to me. What we find is after we've been in with the horses for, you know, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the horses are able to get much closer. But they're also really calm. The draft horses are just spectacular to do this work with. Yes, they're big, kind of like driving, you know, down the highway. If you see a semi-truck, you know that although it's going the same speed as you, when it moves, it's going to move with big movement. And so that's why I tell the women, you know, when they move with big movement. But
You've mentioned a few times about instant connections between the women and then between the women and the horses. Do you hear a lot of chatter between the women who have never worked with these horses before, like what that experience is like, just saying hello to a draft horse?
we have women that are like behind some of the volunteers that are in there, you know, because we have our facilitators are in there, but we also have volunteers that are also horse handlers that are, you know, just opening gates or watching where the horses are. And so sometimes the women will, you know, like kind of hide for a little while, like behind somebody who's another horse person. But for the most part, they start to talk about what the horse has just done with somebody else. Like, for example, we've had times that women just started talking about how they're not using their voice, how there's things that they really want to say, especially now that they've had cancer. But it's not something that they can say readily to their families because they've always been this caregiver, this provider, always giving. But now they want to say that they want to take back a little bit of their life, that they want a little something for themselves. And so maybe, you know, their husband or their daughter or their son might have to give a little bit because she wants to do something special for herself. We've had situations like that as the women get to be more and more authentic, the horses start to mirror this and come and stand by them as if they're offering them support and giving them that hug to say, go ahead and say it. We've had other times that the horses will start mouthing just out of the blue, and the women will go, oh my gosh, she's telling me to start speaking what I want to say. And so, you know, energetically what's happening between the people and the horses, I haven't found any of it to be about fear. What it has been maybe is about some fears initially of maybe not giving to themselves or things that they want to say or things that they want to do. But it's not traditionally who they have been until they were diagnosed with cancer. And the horses then become very supportive of that. And their fear is not of the horses. Typically their fear is of the changes now that they want and how to transition. I don't want to call that maybe fear. It's kind of not knowing but the trauma and the fear was in the cancer. So if they're thriving through that and they've surpassed that, then starting a photography business or taking art classes or asking their husband, I want to go on that vacation we've been talking about for 5 years, really is no biggie. And they start to get that from the horses. And if you can lead a draft horse around, you feel pretty empowered.
What do you feel it is that actually happens in this space at Peaceful Acres that's the tipping point for women on the inside to be able to have the liberty to stand up and say, it's my time now?
Ooh. This place and this space in and of itself is a pretty powerful, beautiful, peaceful spot. And so that's what we've heard a lot. The other thing is when they hear rescued horses, they automatically think there's going to be these horrible bad stories, or we're going to see horses that don't look good, there's going to be horses that are out of control. And when they find out that through the restoration process, these horses are strong, they have new families, and they're thriving, and they really start to, I think, find a connection between their thriving and the horses thriving. And it's nothing that you can manufacture. It's nothing you can make up. It just happens naturally. And we allow that to happen. That's why we call it horse hugs. It's that natural. So, yeah, I think they let down maybe their guard a little bit, especially with each other, because they feel understood with each other. And then to be with the horses that will just come and sometimes stand next to them so they can just lean on them or cry, because the horse isn't going to say, let me fix that, stop crying. I'm uncomfortable with that. Right, Leo?
Who's this handsome fellow?
Leo's amazing at exactly what I just said. He is spectacular at giving and also receiving horse hugs. And he came out of the kill pen in New Jersey and was pretty afraid when he first got here, and he's not anymore.
You see a value that these horses bring to people that a price cannot be put on, that a pill cannot fix. What do you have to say to the horse community who overbreeds, who ships their horses to slaughter, when you know this value? I mean, 180,000 horses a year are slaughtered that could be helping and healing hearts of 180,000 human beings who are in desperate need of rescue as well.
Well, obviously this is a huge macro problem, and it starts in breeding. And if we continue to breed these horses, overbreed these horses, we're going to continue to have a problem. I think there needs to be more funding available through the states or through different industries that use horses, that more 501c3 not-for-profit rescue sanctuaries can begin. Here we are in the Capital Region. There's a handful of us trying to do an awful lot and reaching out to the donor base that are the retired school teacher or the philanthropic, mom or dad or business owner. But somehow this industry, through breeding, really should be supporting its own. And I don't know how that can happen, whether it be if you breed it and you register it, there's a fee that goes into aftercare. And I don't mean that just for thoroughbreds. I mean that for quarter horses. Quarter horses are, 70%, I think, of that slaughter population. The worst thing that you can do is be in a position like myself or any of the rescue organizations, when you go to that kill pen and you know that you can only take 2 or 3 or maybe 4 home, and you've got others that are calling you and they're right at that pen, and you know that within 24 hours they're shipping over to Canada or Mexico, in this area in Canada, and they're going to be dead. They're going to be slaughtered. And I think if people saw those faces, didn't see the slaughter process, but saw those faces and realized that these are horses like any of our horses here. Half our population has come out of a kill pen. And they were somebody's pet. They were someone's companion. They were, a working horse or a thoroughbred racehorse, or, a lesson horse, for goodness sakes. I mean, how many amazing horses that have come through us that have now been placed, that I said, these are not sanctuary horses for Peaceful Acres. These horses have to find a guardian, have to find a new owner, because they're a great riding companion. They still have so much left to give. Most of our horses that are here in sanctuary, there's a reason why now that they're not replaced. One being they're spectacular at giving horse hugs, but also they're aged. A lot of our horses are very aged. But the ones that we see in the kill pen, that's not the case. Most of them majority are very healthy, they're young. It's other than the extreme cruelty cases, it is the thing that keeps me up at night. I wish that we better networked. I wish that all of us together who were the founders and the directors of these not-for-profit organizations would not feel fear, would not feel competition, and that we would ultimately play better in the paddock together. Because as an advocacy network for horses, we all come with great ideas. Peaceful Acres is very different than Susan Wagner's equine advocates, But one thing we all have in common, we love these horses, and we have given up our lives as professionals. I mean, a lot of women my life and what I did before this, I had some potential of making a nice paycheck, and lived a very different corporate life.
Oh well.
I'm going to rescue and nurse back to health a whole lot of horses. And
Nanci's absolutely right. Horses will take you places you have never dreamed of. What we reach for in life may be different, but what makes us reach is often the same. Nanci, you've been so generous with your time, but I can't leave without asking, what are your plans for the future of Peaceful Acres?
More rejuvenation retreats, really. Yeah. We're planning on 1 and 2 day retreats, so with overnight accommodations, hopefully, all for women who are surpassing a cancer diagnosis. And also just to let our community know that we're here. Yes, we rescue horses, but those horses are really amazing at, sharing compassion with people who need it. And so I think being more of a community resource, especially to treatment centers, hospitals, and other organizations that are working with women who are surpassing cancer. If we can be a little resource towards their thriving, that's where our focus is.
Well, it's certainly refreshing to see the work that you've accomplished here so far, and we look forward to coming back on subsequent visits and maybe, whoops, I've got a friend back here. There's Spirit there. Maybe speaking with some of the women who have been through your program and hearing their experience as well. So
That'd be great.
Thank you so much for saving horses and for healing the hearts of so many amazing women that you introduce these wonderful horses to.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Real Horse Rescues. For those of you who dare to listen, a sacred gift awaits in the presence of horses. I'm Susan Kayne, and I'll see you next week.